This is two-handed Swedish weave knitting. I like to hold my contrast color with the hand where I would usually hold my background color. And the reason for that is I'm going to knit and purl the way I usually do, which is to hold this color, here the background color, but my main color, if you will, in the hand I usually use, or my left hand. So if you're an English knitter, you would switch these two, and I'll explain why in a bit. So, holding this, I'm going to, with my yarn in front, because it's where I want to make a contrast, knit, move my yarn in back, and knit. So I'm actually never knitting with the yarn that is on top, or my contrast. I'm simply knitting a stitch the way I would, bringing the yarn from back to front, knitting front to back, knit back to front, knit front to back, knit back to front. And this is a great way to practice holding two yarns if you've never done stranded knitting but you want to learn, because you don't actually have to knit with the non-dominant hand, whichever hand is your dominant one. Now I'll show you why you need to be consistent. If I were an English thrower, for example, I would have these in the opposite hands so that I would maintain the way that I'm usually knitting or purling. So if I were to do that, you see I want to have the contrast color in front now. I would move it to the front, and I would throw to do my knit stitch, move it to the back, throw to do my knit stitch, move it to the front. So either way is correct. The reason that you have to be consistent, and I'm not sure you can see it so much here yet, but if you see the spacing of the weave over the top, it will change if you change. So here, where there's a little bit of breathing room, you can see where I've switched. The dashes actually touch. They won't touch if you're consistent either way, but if you switch back and forth, they will. And that's because in the back, the way that you're carrying the yarn will change and it will cross over each other. So I'm going to take those back to where I was so that I can be consistent. See how far back did I go?